Hello everybody and welcome back to the Rovers Recap, the show we talk about this week's Coronation Street. This week's Coronation Street being from the 13th of January to the 17th of January, 3 episodes a week, about 45 minutes a pop. So yeah, with all that said, the topics we'll be talking about today are, and there will be chapters for all of the topics in case you want to jump in between, there's no stress either way. Lauren's trial is this week, Lauren Bolton that is. Daisy, Daniel, Bethany and Kit, the love quadrangle, just all over the place. Kevin and Abi are both struggling but in different ways. And probably the Carla, Connor, kidney transplant. And finally, something that a viewer last week requested. I don't remember their name, but I should really remember their name considering they suggested this podcast as a whole. So 1 second. Ain't it rough being a relatively successful YouTube channel? Corey Arcade, thank you for the suggestions. We will be doing awards at the end, and that is exactly how we're going to do this. But yeah, let's get into the topics. So, 1 second. So, something that I'm fed up with at this point. I know that we have to face the consequences for actions, but Lauren's trial is this week, and this week Lauren decides it's time for hers and Max's relationship to end. Is it because she's realised that Paddy Beeve is leaving? No, of course not, that's meta. It's probably because she's kind of decided... Yeah, I'm probably going inside for a long time now, let's be honest. And yeah, it's just kind of I don't know, it's the most loveless relationship possible. I always made the joke, and I make the joke about Chris Clenshaw's EastEnders, that it's... Sometimes it feels like these partners are just roommates who just live together and aren't actually, like, in love or building a relationship. And the Lauren and Max one was more confusing as a whole, because they got together in a bit of a huff, really surprisingly, kind of going against the direction that they were initially going with the Bobby and Lauren. Bobby found out why she had bruises, and then obviously she left. Then in the end, Lauren and Max ended up getting together because they still wanted to tell the different story of radicalized far-right Max Turner in a fictional Coronation Street world. You know, he would go with Sabrina, who, you know, judging his prior beliefs, probably not really his type. But I guess it was a way of trying to rehab the character in a way. But Sabrina never really went anywhere, and they never really explored that relationship too heavily. And so just about slightly a bit into last year, like September, October, could be wrong with the dates, they decided, balls to it. Let's just put Lauren and Max together, and then the Joel stuff really heated up, and then they are implicated, and they are the people who did the Joel death. It was them. Who did it? It was Max and Lauren. And now they've kind of been like, I do love you, but they can't handle it. Max is worried about Lauren going away, but still wants to be there. Lauren is worried about Max not, living his life because she's inside. It's, I don't mean to be always negative, and I try to keep at least a relative objective edge, so I guess I'll give my opinion after, but, yeah. Continuing it, though, we see former Hollyoaks alumni Tegan Lomax try to get to know Lauren, but they have a very frosty dynamic. Tegan, well, I don't even remember her name, so I'm just going to call her Tegan. I don't remember what her name is, but Tegan Lomax from Hollyoaks. It's just like, oh, you know, you're inside, blah, blah, blah. Is this all happening? Yeah. But it's a very frosty dynamic, and they are at each other's throats immediately. Lauren doesn't like it when she says the baby's name, and it's just frosty as ever. At the trial, it goes both ways, where the forensic analyst is assumed to be There's all the lighting. The forensic analyst has decided to be a bit dodgy, so it's kind of hard to really decide. Hold on. But yeah, the person who decided what the blow of death, which was the blunt force trauma, was the rock to the head, kind of implied that he may have got the results wrong, even if he was quite confident in not doing, bloody hell, get my words out of me. He was proven to be a bit unreliable, but also Lauren's side seems to be failing somewhat. And at the end of the week, when Tegan Lomax from Hollyoaks calls Lauren a murderer, Lauren threatens to kill her, which she sees and all everyone sees, and now it's like shown, is she a bad person? And I'm just worried that we're going to have to deal with more prison scenes. And that's all the Lauren stuff. I'm fed up with the Lauren stuff, simply saying. I don't mean to be doomsaying or anything, and I'm definitely not going to go that far, but I still don't understand the writers' reliance on Lauren. I don't understand why they're so kind of pushing forward in order to build up Lauren as this big character when she's not a big character, and she's not who they want her to be, and she doesn't have the gravitas, she doesn't have the drive. The character hasn't been established well enough to really make people care about her. Like, yes, it was tragic, and it was tragic what happened to her. And yes, she is a long way from where she started, being a racist bigot who was brainwashed. Very true, but still doesn't neglect the fact that she was still a racist and would continue to employ her beliefs. It's just, I don't know, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It's kind of it's the hung up. It's why I'm no longer as, I don't care about killer storylines that much anymore. They have to be particularly good to get me to actually want to see it, because the aftermath is always usually very drawn out, very annoying. Like how they try, well, I guess Joel wasn't necessarily a killer, but he did try to kill Lauren, which was a key part of the storyline. So, like, I don't know, just the aftermath usually isn't worth it, especially lately. Like, especially with... My problem with this is we previously had the Stephen Reed stuff not too long ago, where Stephen killed off a bunch of not important characters whatsoever. But it's just the aftermath. It just hangs over like a heavy price. And to me, it just really isn't even that much. That's all I'll say. It's not that interesting. Neither's Lauren as a character. Neither's Max. I'm not calling for axes, but I think it's time to call Lauren Bolton as a character. You take a younger teenager character. Well, I say younger. You take a teenager. You give them tragedy. You give them tragedy. You give them more tragedy and more tragedy, more tragedy, and then you're shocked as to why people don't care about you. It's like recent, as of late, it's the Summer Spellman effect, right? Where it's like, here's Summer, who's this forward thinker, and she's got Christian beliefs, and she's also like a smarter than her age, and she's standing up to her grandparents who are bigoted. And then they recast her and went, yeah, Summer's just another girl, and she's going against everything we laid for the character. Yeah, and she's struggling. And it's just like, this isn't how you make a successful character, guys. Sorry to break it to you. It's just not. And I'm fed up with Lauren. And I hope the trial wraps up. And I hope she's found guilty. That's all I'll say. I hope she's found guilty. I hope we don't need to see seeing any of the trial stuff anymore. It's just over. It needs to be over. It needs to finish. And not to continue from bad vibes to bad vibes, But has anybody found this week of Coronation Street to be quite redundant? Quite... I don't know. There was just a lot. It just droned on a little bit, in my opinion. There was a lot of good stuff involved, but like the way we got there wasn't satisfying. It was more tedious. So let's talk about the Daniel, Bethany, Daisy, Kit, Love quadrangle. So Bethany is offered a job in London. Daniel doesn't even really let her consider it, which pits Daisy and Bethany at each other's throats again. Bethany feels threatened by Daisy, who's stepping up for Bertie. She gets him a Captain Neutron cake, which seems terrible because it's just an N. It's a big N in cake form. Daisy hears from Bertie, who spots Cassie putting something in Ken's tea and tells Daniel. And because her and Daniel are discussing what Cassie would have seen, now they're proceeding to question what Cassie's doing. Everybody's starting to wonder, like, you know, Ken loves her, but is it actually worth just kind of I don't know, man. It's just another storyline that's like a damp squib. But yeah, and with that said, Bethany makes a big mess of cutting the cake, which I think was supposed to be really, really awkward and uncomfortable to watch. And it was, as Bethany makes the most terrible attempt at cutting what is quite a simple cake to cut. It's a bloody square, man. It's a rectangle. Just cut a piece like that. Just cut one like that. It was agonizing. It was such an agonizing scene where Bethany's making a show of Bertie's birthday party because she's angry at Daniel for picking Daisy again. But it's not your birthday, man. It's Bertie's. What if he remembers it? What if he remembers this birthday and remembers the time Bethany was an absolute cow around the party? And she trips up Bethany, or she trips up Daisy, and she accidentally slices her hand, which leaves her with a wound and Daisy's foot being sprained. Daniel rushes to the hospital, and at the hospital Daniel learns that Daisy is pregnant, as does Kit. Who's the daddy? It's Daniel. It's gotta be Daniel. But yeah, she tells Kit it is his, but later meets with Daniel exposing that she's pregnant and it could be his. She already says, yeah, whoops, I did say to Kit that it is his, lol. So, yeah, you know, Cassie overhears this and puts them both on blast, with her threatening to blow the secret of who is the baby daddy. She finds out that she's pregnant much quicker than Daniel does, but Daniel's a bumbling oaf at the best of times, despite masquerading as an intellectual. I do like Daniel, I do like Daisy, I do like Bethany. I don't like them in this constant cycle of a triangle, quad, just whatever the hell it fits into. It's just tedious, Kit decides that he can't be a dad to the child, but he will financially support Daisy. Daisy's obviously despondent because this was kind of her get out of jail free in a sense. Like, you know, Kit's a good man and I'm sure he'll step up for the baby. He will not step up for the baby. Because obviously Kit was abandoned by Bernie when he was young. So, yeah. Daniel is beside himself when talking to Adam about wanting to be the dad of Daisy's kid, and just going through it. Adam's like, why would you ruin your relationship with something that may not even be yours? And Bethany interrupts and wonders what's wrong. She does not find out. Yeah. Everything's falling apart for Daisy as Carla has put the pub at risk, demanding what they stole from the factory. You know, when Stephen had stolen like 300k from the factory and Daisy got into all the accounts and paid for the pub with it. So things go from bad to worse. probably setting up for the inevitable exit where Daisy's kind of losing everything, and all she really has is her and the baby in a way. So yeah, once again, I don't want to make the theme of this episode be tedious. I really don't, but it's yeah, I'm just not a fan of it. I'll just simply saying I'm not a fan of this constant back and forth, horrendously together. I just yeah, it's not great. I'm not a fan. I'm kind of tired of it constantly. I'm just tired of all the back and forth. I'm happy with Daisy. I'm happy with Bethany. And I'm unhappy with Bethany. And it feels like I want to propose to Daisy, but Bethany's rattled my secret, so I'm proposing to Bethany. It's like, it's not, it is, and I know I've said this multiple times, and it's going to become almost like a spoof of myself. But it's not Ken, Deirdre, and Mike at all. It's just not that. Like, everybody Daniel interacts with, it looks like they hate him because he's just an idiot. He's an idiot posing as an intellectual. Like, that's the problem with Daniel. He's supposed to be a smart character, but he's got no common sense. And it's just, it's back and forth. I like all the characters involved. I don't like them in this storyline. But unfortunately, this is where we're going to keep going, as soon enough the baby's secret will be exposed, and Daniel and Daisy will likely get back together in the end, and Bethany's going to go on maternity leave. So then Daisy and Daniel will get back together. Kit will maybe decide he wants to be a dad now, but is it his kid anyways? No, it's not, let's be honest. And then it will ramp up towards Daisy's exit later in the year, whenever she decides to depart the show. So yeah, there we are. That's all of that stuff. What do you think about it? Tell me in the comment section. Yeah, with all that said, let's move on to the next topic, that being Kevin and Abi are struggling, both in very different ways. Abi, in last time, saw visions of Seb and visions of... Well, I don't think she saw visions of Mason, but this week it escalated to seeing visions of Seb and more back and forth, because obviously she saw a young man die in her arms, essentially. He didn't die yet, but still, it's bringing back a lot of traumatic memories for Abi, and she's not managing to deal with it. She's already yelled at Toya a bunch, and she is deathly protective of Alfie, believing as much as you can try to protect people, it'll all go wrong anyway, so she's not letting Alfie out of his sight. And what's Kevin doing? Kevin is struggling. He's found a lump on his testicles. Trying to figure out the right way to say that. On his buttocks. No, he's found a lump on his testes, and he's now quite nervous about it, but it's still Kevin. Kevin's, the only thing he's cloak and dagger about is when he's cheating on his wife. Let's be honest. But still, he's a bit shy about it. He opens up to Debbie, who's like, look, I'll support you either way. Do love you. Still my brother, you know? Still important to me. Which is quite a nice little... It's just a nice little... It's why it's gonna be sad to see Debbie slowly die. Like, because, I don't know, I think the issue when they brought Debbie back is they stopped having the endearing moments. So everybody generally viewed Debbie as just a bit of a dick. And she was just a bit of a dick. She was a selfish dick. Alright, that's enough of that. But, you know, the last year or two, they've kind of made her a lot more open and given a much nicer scenes, a relationship with Ronnie, a relationship with Ryan, a relationship with Kev. Like, they've definitely managed to make them quite interesting. And it is sad knowing that she will inevitably be killed off. Yeah, Abi has full-blown hallucinations. The actor who played Seb, has reprised the role for some like little scenes where he kissed her on the cheek, and the voicemail he let on the wedding night about being safe. But yeah, Abby's terrified of Alfie running away and wants to have him not leave her sight. He's slightly despondent and puts his head in the sand, but he does see Kevin sees Dr. Gaddis anyways. Tries to deal with it alone, but obviously Debbie tries to help him, and Tim kind of sits him down like, look, mate, you all right? And Tim's like, look, you went to the doctors. They've done the best they can. You made the first step, so fair enough. You've done good, mate. And they have a nice little hug. But you can tell he's on the edge. He eventually tells Abby, and he gets back. He accidentally leaves the keys in the door, and then Debbie walks in, kind of wonder what happened. Abby wakes up as Kevin's taken Alfie to have a kip. And in the end, Abby wakes up screaming and proceeds to scare everyone. Kevin then opens up to Abby about the lump on his balls, and she just doesn't really pay attention. She doesn't really listen, and she just goes, I need to get out of here. And then she goes to, I believe, Seb's garden. She panics. She listens to a voicemail, which is the Seb voicemail once again. And she nearly leaves Alfie behind, but bothers Roy, who pleads with her to get some help. She decides she doesn't need it and doesn't listen to his advice, when Roy is just like, Abby, I feel like you really need help. Please. Please. I mean, it's two completely different things. I like all of the characters involved once again. I like Kevin. I like his approach to dealing with this, because anyone who dealt with a big major health scare, there's kind of less of, it's still like a societal pressure where as the man, even that this may sound archaic, and so some people this may still be kind of like, what? Nah, it's not like this anymore. It still somewhat is, where there's still been a whole generation of men who don't talk about their problems because they feel like they'll be looked at as less than a man, or they will not be respected as much if they open up about their feelings. And Kevin is of an older generation and still probably has that stiff upper lip type of dealing with things, where he'll deal with it in its own way. He'll let it all build up and then blow up as such. So you have this really kind of like realistic, down-to-earth type genuine fear from Kevin. This genuine like unknowing of, is he gonna lose? He's gonna lose masculinity. Is he gonna have to deal with cancer? He's gonna have to deal with it. And you get this this simmering below the surface, but not really being handled as much, where you can tell that like beyond the eyes, he's about two harsh words away from crying his eyes out, which is it's really well done. And I'll give full credit to Mike Lavelle, I believe is who plays Kevin Webster. But just really, really good stuff. Let me just double check that. Yes, he does, or Michael Lavelle. Yeah, he does a really good job of this, and I look forward to it. I do look forward to seeing how it shows, and I look forward to seeing a slightly different approach. Usually it's a slightly younger person, and they talk about it, but Kevin seems to be quite open about it from what Kate Brooks has talked about this storyline. So, yeah, but I think then it gets into the Abby traumatically hallucinating Seb. I don't know if we need it. Honestly, I like Abby. I like this. I don't like Abby in this state. I know that it's supposed to be agonizing because we've seen Abby like on the fairly right path, like sober, safe, in recovery. So, testing the sobriety again. I know it has to be done as she is an addict, but it doesn't make it any less hard to watch. And that's how I would describe the Abby stuff. Like, I don't know. It's always a risk when you have these characters who play these problematic, like, yeah, you have these actors who typically are typecast as like the problematic addict, junkie sort of characters, like Abi, for example, and they are really, really strong in the role, but I don't. I just don't want to see it. I don't want to see it at all. It once again, tedious. Tedious is the word of the week. It's just not like, look, I feel like everybody watching typically remembers Seb dying. I don't want to go through the grieving of Seb again. And I don't want to see Abi being out of character, and I don't want to see her struggling. But if we are seeing her struggle, just not entirely. I don't know. It's always it feels a bit lazy sometimes, where it's like, oh, and they're struggling, and boom, immediate, everything's thrown out the window, self-destructive. When for the first time, Kevin actually somewhat needs Abby's help, and now it's not really going to be as reciprocated because she's also going through a rough time. So full credit to all the actors. It is good stuff, but also I'm much more looking forward to seeing the Kevin stuff than I am seeing the Abby stuff, as it feels like we've seen the same book multiple times before, except this time we have a ghost of a dead person, which, yeah, all right then. What do you think about this stuff? Tell me in the comment section. And now time for the final topic, this being Carla continuing to need a kidney transplant, a liver transplant. I think it's a kidney. It is a kidney. So in the week, they're kind of discussing all their options, and they don't want to go forward without Carla's permission, but everybody typically wants Carla to take Rob's offer. Only because, yes, admittedly, he did some bad things, but at the end of the day, they would much rather Carla live than die. And they don't want her to die out of spite or die out of, like, pride, rather than actually taking help when it's offered to you. So, yeah, it's, and whilst going to see him, they learn that there's, like, I think Lisa, Betsy, and Ryan are all at the hospital, and they kind of go. Bobby confides in Ryan that he's going to see Rob, and she proceeds to, whilst he's there is a hostage situation, which is by Matty Radcliffe, I believe, or Logan, I don't remember. I think Matty, who is holding the guards hostage as his girlfriend didn't come and it's been frozen out. And then Rob uses it as an experience. As Matty's pulled out a knife, he uses it as an experience to explain, like, you know, see the light, you don't want to do this, you don't want to do this. And Matty gets closer and closer to Bobby, threatening to gut him in a video game. And this then leads to Rob to take control and, you know, disarm him and take control of the situation. This makes Bobby believe that his dad is the good man he's been trying to say he is, and the guard kind of favors Rob now, which, you know, layers him up in the pecking order. But when talking to Matty, it then is revealed, like I said before, that Rob kind of masterminded the whole thing, and it's been used as a good excuse in order for him to gain favor. And then Bobby goes to Carla, being like, hey, he saved my life, isn't that really cool? He's a good man now, look at him, you should go see him. And Carla, still struggling, still barely functioning, goes to see him. And Rob tries to do the same thing as well. He tries to go, look, Carla, I've changed. You know, I found religion about a year ago. It's been a really hard time in here, but I'm looking good, I'm eating good. You know, I'm trying to make up for my actions, but I do want to give you this kidney. I do want to make sure this is fine. And she does see him, and it's a really good scene between Alison King and, I don't remember, Rob's actor. It is a good scene, and you can tell that there's a lot of built up natural history there, and all in all, it's just good. It's just two actors with, like, class and they both play off each other very well. Like, you know, this is what you get when you do like more senior actors as such. So she sees him through, and she like half believes him, but not really. And coming away from it, she goes, "Look, he could be telling the truth, but like I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. It's not worth it. It's not worth my time. I'd rather just do something else." And she starts to wonder, maybe it's about time I go private. You know, maybe I should have the money around. And she gets a figure, and the figure would be about 100 grand, which is absurd to me. But, you know, Carla's a fairly affluent woman, has a decent chunk of money, been a bit more poor since Stephen Reed stole, like, a big 300k sum out of the factory. So she goes straight back to Daisy and Jenny and says, "Look, I've been quite fair with you guys, but I gotta say, I don't have time and I need the money. You don't really have a choice in this situation. I desperately need the money, otherwise I'm not going to live." And they both kind of scramble. They're worried about having to sell the pub, but this on top of everything else makes Jenny just terrified about losing the pub, while Daisy is just beside herself anyways, because everything's gone wrong for Daisy. But in the end, Betsy and Lisa come with an offer. Betsy says that she was given a bunch of money when Becky died, and she wants to offer it to Carla as a loan in order to like pay for half of the kidney. So she's willing to put up 50k in order to help Carla get through this. And she has like a nice little moment where they both kind of go, "Look, you're a part of my mum's life now, and that means you're a part of mine. So I want to be able to help." And this bit is probably the most touching scene of the week for me. Not that I'm a Swala stan, because, you know, I'm not really a part of the stan culture anymore. And most of the characters I like aren't necessarily the crowd pleasers. But I do like this relationship, and I do like Betsy as well. So all in all, good stuff there. I like Rob's return has been quite good so far. I do wonder how it's going to be seen, because he did show up at the Cobbles. He did show up towards the Rovers. Like, is he going to get out of prison, for example? You know, so there's just a lot of there's just a lot of intrigue there, right? Just like, is Rob going to get out of prison? Is him donating his kidney going to be him plotting his escape again? Something or other. All that and more. Like Carla, like Ryan, like Lisa, like Betsy. All the characters did a good job. So all in all, that is the Carla and the kidney stuff. So hold up real quick, as we're about to go into the awards. And finally, the final segment of this show, once again, suggested by Corey Arcade. If you have any awards you'd like me to do, feel free to share it in the comment section down below. If there's a chance, it'll likely be attributed to you. So once again, thank you, Corey Arcade, for suggesting this part of the Rovers recap. Now, the awards. What awards am I going to be giving? These are just 3 surface level ones. Best character of the week, best actor or actress. I'm like just going to say best actor and go for anybody. And rating out of 10. So those are the 3 awards, and I'll do them in that order. The best character of the week, for me, it's a hard one. It is a hard one. See, I'm torn with noting that I have really enjoyed Rob Donovan's return in a way, but it's also quite telegraphed. So, like, I genuinely predicted what he was gonna do a week before it was done. Not that it was very hard to do. I think I will offer best character of the week. It's probably going to be Kevin Webster for me. I liked his more measured approach to dealing with his possible cancer scare. And obviously, you know, you can play off history where Sal had breast cancer before and Kevin wasn't really there for her. So they've obviously dealt with stuff like this before. And most importantly, the scenes I probably enjoyed the most this week were Kevin's scenes with Kevin scenes with Debbie and Kevin scenes with Tim. So Kevin Webster is the best character of the week. Best actor or actress. best actor or actress. Now this is going to put me at risk of saying something stupid. Best actor or actress. I guess I will take Rob Donovan. I don't remember the actor's name, so that's probably doing him a disservice. Rob Donovan, Carla, Alison Connor, either or. Probably one or either of them, or just Mike Lavelle. But that's kind of making it. I want to make the awards a bit different. Oh well, I've not really thought this out too much, but look, we're at the ground level. We'll get there. Rating out of 10 of this week. It's like a 4. It's like a 4. There were just a lot of moments this week that were just really agonizing. Bethany cutting the cake, making Bertie's birthday all about him. Cassie still continuing to poison Ken. Daisy, Daniel, back and forth. Bethany jealous. I don't really enjoy that Abby trauma stuff. So ultimately, the only real scenes that I actively really enjoyed this week are the Carla and Rob scenes and the Kevin scenes. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4. It might be a bit harsh, but I just found this week quite tedious. So that's my real issue with this week of Coronation Street. It felt like a chore to sit through, which ultimately shouldn't really be how Coronation Street feels to watch. But at the length of the episodes, it's just kind of it creeps up on you. So yeah, there we are. That's episode 2 complete of the Rovers recap. Tell me what you thought about it in the comment section down below. Do you want to add any awards or anything? Once again, tell me in the comment section. What did you think about the week of Coronation Street? Do you like the show? Do you tell everything and more in the comment section? Thanks for watching. I'm going to go have a break now. Cheers for hanging out with me this week, guys. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.